Hello everybody and welcome back to HU300 Arts and Humanities. This week we're going to be talking a little bit about mythology, and specifically modern mythology and the myths that we have been raised with. Now before I get going, you'll notice that I have this really short hair. It is really short, isn't it? You like it? There's the sides, la 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 la, there's the other side, and it's kind of my summer do. And what you'll probably see is that I have long hair one week, short hair the next week, long hair the next week. It's because this is a mix of videos that were made before and after the haircut. This is a little bit closer to what I look like right now. So, mystery solved. I thought we should address that first. Alright, so let's talk this week about the two discussion questions that you have. The first discussion question that we're going to look under with mythology is the role of gender in mythology. Now, this may seem like a strange thing to talk about, but gender itself is what we consider what we call a social construction, rather than just a biological fact. Now, let me clarify that for you. When we talk about gender, we often think immediately about female versus male, woman versus man. Woman versus man is a sexual designation that we consider a biological fact. Female versus male are gender ideas that are basically social constructions. A social construction refers to how society views the role of the person. So they may have a very specific role in mind of tasks, roles, expectations for a female, which are entirely different than that for a male. Depending upon the different society you happen to be growing up in and living in, these expectations are entirely different. The expectations for a female versus male role here in the United States is going to be entirely different from something, for example, in India or in Africa or the Middle East, or even slightly in Canada, in Ireland, right? So depending upon the culture you're from, there are different gender expectations. With that said, our first discussion this week will be regarding some gender definitions provided to us by two different sociologists. The first one is Erving Goffman, who is a very famous sociologist, who's going to give us a definition of the male, the man, for the ideal male in our society. The second sociologist is Mary Pfeiffer, and she's going to be giving us the definition for what we consider females should behave in our society. And what you'll do is I'll have you look at these two definitions and consider whether or not they're accurate or possibly inaccurate. And also I'm going to ask you why you think they're inaccurate or accurate. Pretty specifically, if you could make specific points about it, that would be great. And finally, if you will address why we perpetuate gender roles in society and how we do it, that would be really quite lovely. All right, on to question 2. Question 2 asks you to look at a myth from your childhood, and a myth that basically gives you some kind of moral or lesson and story that you should listen to. Some examples could be the rabbit and the hare, right? And this is a mythology that gives us basically a type of story about how we should proceed in life. If we go slow and steady, we're likely to win the race. If we go fast and we get tired, we're likely to lose out. Another famous story might be from one of the Grimm's stories, one of the many Grimm stories, as Cinderella, The Little Mermaid, Little Red Riding Hood. These are all stories that basically have a very important lesson in which we try to impart to our children when we read them. So recollect on a story, an anecdote, or some kind of myth that your parents provided for you, if not your parents, something you may have heard in school or just growing up, and then discuss the consequences of those myths. I'm going to share one with you that is absolutely nuts. There was a myth that if you ratted your hair and you made it, not like I could rat this stuff, but if I had long hair and I could rat it, and if I put a lot of hairspray and stuff in it and I made it into this big area, it would become a nest for spiders. And the only moral I can find out of that is that my parents really wanted me to groom my hair a little bit nicer, and because they told me the story because I hated spiders so much. So there's an example right there. That's it for this week. I look forward to seeing you on the boards, and I really do hope you'll be able to join me. That's my dog, by the way. If you'll be able to join me in seminar this week, right, Max? Yeah. And hopefully we'll have a roaring discussion there about mythology as well. Until then, I will see you in my videos next week, and take it easy. Thank you very much, and goodbye.